Welcome back to Appalachian Dim Sum,
where our entertainment is our comfort food.
and this is episode 37, main course for the month.
The main course is the Fisher King.
The Fisher King.
Did you ever hear the story of the Fisher King?
No.
Well, here we go.
All right.
It begins with the king as a boy, having to spend the night alone in the forest to prove his courage so he can become king. Now, while he's spending the night alone, he is visited by a sacred vision. Out of the fire appears the Holy Grail, the symbol of God's divine grace. And a voice said to the boy, "You shall be keeper of the Grail, so that it may heal the hearts of men." But the boy was blinded by greater visions of a life filled with power and glory and beauty. And in a state of radical amazement, he felt for a brief moment not like a boy, but invincible like God. So he reached into the fire to take the Grail, and the Grail vanished, leaving him with his hand in the fire to be terribly wounded. Now, as this boy grew older, his wound grew deeper, until one day, life for him had lost its reason. He had no faith in any man, not even himself. He couldn't love or feel loved. He was sick with experience, and he began to die. One day, a fool wandered into the castle and found this king alone. And being a fool, he was simple-minded. He didn't see a king. He only saw a man alone and in pain. And he asked the king, "What ails you, friend?" And the king replied, "I'm thirsty. I need some water to cool my throat." So the fool took the cup from beside his bed, filled it with water, and handed it to the king. And as the king began to drink, he realized that his wound had healed. He looked in his hands, and there was the Holy Grail, that which he had sought all of his life. And he turned to the fool and said with amazement, "How can you find that which my brightest and bravest could not?" And the fool replied, "I don't know. I only knew that you were thirsty." That is the story of the Fisher King. Fisher King is from Arthurian legend, and he is the storied keeper of the Grail in Holy Grail lore. And I guess if you're wondering, what on earth are y'all talking about? What is this all about? That is a scene from the very almost center point of this movie, and kind of lays out the whole idea of the film, and pretty much kind of laid out a map for me of how I wanted to grow up and how I wanted to live. And that's why this film is so important to me, I guess. Get into some technicals on the Fisher King first.
Well, I want to know is the Fisher King legend an actual Arthurian legend?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. There's books about it. There's not my realm of expertise. I've never gone in and read this stuff, but when you look up the Fisher King online, you have to specify the movie. Otherwise, you get into lots of wikis of lore and legend and Knights of the Round Table stuff and King Arthur.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what would be the right word? Is that the skeleton for the movie?
Yeah, foundation. Yeah.
Foundation is sort of, or
inspiration.
Yeah, it kind of lays this movie that takes place in the 90s in New York. Really is a movie about the homeless, but that little, well, I guess we're so used to talking about Lovecraft and things on the show. We talk about how the little tendrils that run through things. That really is the little tendrils of that story work their way through this story, and they pop up in and out and really tie it all together.
There are so many stories, especially legends, that are so foundational to literature in general, that you're going to see the inspiration of this sort of story in more modern tales. Yeah. Absolutely.
This is such a movie of quotes. The quote I had to write at the top, because this is almost sort of Big Lebowski level of a quotable movie for me. There are three things you need in life: respect for all kinds of life, a nice bowel movement on a regular basis, and a navy blazer.
There you go.
might not be my mantra for my existence, but that's
Not the navy blazer part,
that's
but a comfortable coat.
I've
There you
got
go.
one. I've got one for occasions. I just don't have very many occasions to use it. Such a brilliant movie. I don't know. I say it all the time. This has never left my top three. I don't think it honestly ever leaves my number one spot. It is my favorite movie of all times. There are challengers. They get close. You know, The Matrix, and I don't know what else. Honestly, it's really those kind of two, and they're not really comparable films. Those are two favorites for two different reasons. But yeah, this has really never been unseated. Sometimes I'll go a little while without watching it, but very few years. This came out in 1991. There has been very few years since 1991 that I've not probably seen this at least twice a year. So how many times that would be from then till now would be 50, probably pushing more, 75 to 100 times. I probably watch this because sometimes I watch it and I'll show it to some friends or have people over here and we'll watch it again. And I've watched it twice, maybe 3 times this year, and we'll watch it again at the holidays. Sometimes it's a 4 or 5 times a year watch for me.
And I have seen it exactly 1.3 times. I remember my parents watched this at one point when I was a kid. It came out and I was, early, not even a teen yet when it came out. And I remember seeing glimpses of it, capturing parts of it, but the narrative heavy aspect of the film, where there's some good visuals in it, but a lot of it is more like philosophical, and you got to follow the characters and what they're going through and their arcs. As a kid, I wasn't following all that, so it wasn't really interesting.
I think I was a junior in high school when this came out. I know I was driving.
Yeah, I was like elementary school when it came out.
My whole thing, once I got my car and could drive, is like I can go see a movie by myself or with a friend, or I can actually take a date. And this is probably the first real drama that I went to go see, because my other theater experiences were seeing Terminator 2 probably 15 to 20 times as it went from main theater down into the little dollar theater in Salem. Same thing with Last of the Mohicans. Not much else, honestly, before this came, and this was a date movie. I'll throw that story in now just to get that out of the way. We're not a arranged marriage culture, but if there ever was an attempt to have that family that we grew up with a daughter that was just a little bit younger than me, just a grade behind me, we're friends from as far as I can remember. Mom was my kindergarten teacher. People in and out of our lives constantly. My older brother and my brother were best friends. So I think if there was ever one that's like, yeah, one day they'll grow up and these two will just get married. So obviously when he got old enough to date, we dated very briefly. And the way this movie struck chords with me, it just really was, it was one of the first times I'd ever seen a movie and was just mind blown, kind of wanting to sit there in the theater and just kind of think about what I just saw. Went on the date with this girl to go see this movie, and she was like, that was kind of weird. I didn't really get it. And I was like, okay. It's like, I don't think we're going to work out.
How old was she? How old were you guys?
We were both 17, 16-ish.
That may have played a little bit of a part in it.
Because I guess I was really into kind of more cerebral films. I was doing some little writing short stories, starting to get into reading, and was in all the advanced classes and all that kind of stuff. And she was too. And I was kind of disappointed that it was just like, what didn't you get? I was like, I don't get it that you didn't get it. But I was one of those things. I wanted to get back into the car and talk about it, and it was pretty much like, that was weird. It was like, okay. It's like, let's drop you off at home. And
well, I could see this film being more alluring to a young man than a young woman.
It probably very definitely more so.
Yeah, because the themes that are touched upon, the desire to be a part of something bigger than yourself, and duty and love from the male perspective,
Yeah.
the unrequited love and all that. That's all very much from speaking to young men more than I can see a young woman.
Yeah. And Robin Williams too is, if he wasn't my favorite actor at this point, this made him become my favorite actor. I've watched religiously everything that he did after this, and I don't have any qualms in saying that he was a once in a lifetime gift to movies, and never seen anybody that's ever done anything else like him. Genius, tortured genius, maybe is the word for him, because he obviously, the way his life ended was
tragic.
And
This, to kind of talk a little bit about the scenes, the scene where Perry saves Jack from killing himself in the very beginning.
Yeah,
that hit a little different. Now that Robin Williams is gone.
Oh yeah. Hit a few things on it real quick. It's 1991 release, produced by Terry Gilliam,
directed and produced.
Yes, and Terry Gilliam is Monty Python guy,
which surprised me. I didn't realize it was Terry Gilliam film until the credits.
He, I guess in Monty Python stuff, he's not one of the ones that probably jumps out at you like Cleese or any of those other people that are in it. He is the "What is your name" guy.
Yeah,
he's the guy at the bridge, and I think he's the horse with the backpack that's with King Arthur in the Holy Grail. So he's just the guy that's going around doing the coconuts. But he directed 12 Monkeys, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Time Bandits, a bunch of other stuff. This movie, $24 million budget, it grossed $72 million. Wow. So it was probably a very surprising hit, honestly, because it is a very hard movie for some people to process. One of the families that we all sat and watched this together, I showed to a group of friends from high school and their parents, and that was what the mom said at the end. It's like, "Joel, you're weird." And I was like, okay, I'm good with that. But and again, I think some people just don't, I think are hit by some of the stuff in it, and it is very emotional, and I guess some people just don't really know how to process it when you watch it, and it does take some multiple viewings sometimes to kind of get it. Some people get it right away. I was latched onto this movie halfway through it and just amazed. But it was nominated for Academy Awards. Williams was nominated for Best Actor. I don't know if he ever got one, but this is one that he should have gotten it for, because this was ridiculous how his acting job in this thing was. But it was nominated for Best Screenplay, didn't get it. But Mercedes Ruehl, if that's how you say her last name, she won the Best Supporting Actress for her role in this, which is 100% deserved. She was freaking amazing in this movie, and this was the only time that Gilliam ever won an Oscar. Was for that.
Really?
Yeah. All of his other stuff that he's done, he was one of those guys who was nominated, and this was his only crack into that. Across that line was that Best Supporting Actress.
So it looks like Robin Williams was nominated for Best Actor in Good Morning Vietnam, Dead Poet Society, and The Fisher King. He won. Looks like his only Academy Award win was Best Supporting Actor in Good Will Hunting.
Yeah,
which he absolutely deserved. It was a fantastic performance.
Yeah, deserved it for all of those listed.
Yeah,
but again, it's one of those things you just don't know, and especially probably hard to go back and rewind the politics of what was going on at the time to figure out what it was they held against him. Probably was just too over the line on jokes and things like that, where he probably offended somebody or offended the wrong person.
He did win all sorts of he had total 77 across all the major awards. He did win a lot.
Yeah. No, there are very few celebrities I would care twice about ever even encountering. And you always say, if you could ever meet somebody famous and sit down and have lunch with them, that's without hesitation, that's my pick. That's who. And what would you say talking to Robin Williams? I mean, good Lord.
You wouldn't. He would just carry the conversation.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the coolest things I ever saw with him is I saw a video of him talking with his daughter. Excuse me. And this was very late in his life before he died. where they were talking about her name Zelda
Mm-hmm.
and about
I've seen that video. Yeah.
how they played the game together, and that's
Mm-hmm.
why he named her. And that was one of those kind of times I think that you actually saw a window of seeing him because he was there with his daughter, and just again all the fascination with his acting skills and stuff like that. It just that kind of endeared me to him more than even some of his acting stuff. To just see that on top of all these other crazy things, that he was a good dad, and always loved that about him. But you want to go into some plot real quick?
Well, this is going to be the main course for this
Yes.
month.
Oh yeah, we forgot about food.
We have food that we got to talk about.
Yes.
We did have Moo Shu pork.
And our picks for this, I think we maybe mentioned this in the last part.
Yeah.
Um,
We're inspired by the Fisher King directly.
there's a very
brief scene.
Well, there's a very big scene that involves them at a Chinese restaurant.
Yeah.
With dumplings and noodles and
Hot
stuff.
Noodles.
Very funny.
Yeah.
And then the scene that follows it up when he has an off and on kind of relationship with Mercedes Royal, with that character in the movie, and they're kind of rekindling their spark at that point.
Yeah, he is the Jeff Bridges character, Jack.
Yes, Jack. And she is, good gosh, I've got it pulled up here.
Oh, what her name is?
Yeah,
Anne.
Yep. I know it's a simple name.
Yeah. And
they're making out before they go up to the apartment, and she is a stereotypical like hairdresser
from the Bronx or something. Yeah,
nail person that she owns a video store in this movie. Big hair.
She also does nails, but maybe she doesn't. But she did it as a favor.
She did.
Okay.
She did nails and still does her own. Kind of like those, kind of wild color leopard print skirts and things, and usually very revealing tops.
Peggy Bundy type.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like that.
Yeah.
And I think
Peggy Bundy Fran Drescher.
While they're sitting there talking, getting ready to go upstairs, he's looking at her chest, and he's like, steamed dumplings.
In that scene, because we'll get to it, but we're kind of jumping ahead a little bit. In that scene, they were taking Perry out with
Lydia.
I was gonna say Linda, with Lydia, and to kind of like hook him up, right? And Perry and Lydia is off doing on their walk, and then Jack and Anne are like in the entryway of the building that she lives in. And I love she told him, "I'm very proud of you tonight."
Yeah.
And that doesn't matter. Men of any age being told that someone is proud of them is amazing. That's an amazing thing to hear.
Yeah.
And I don't think enough people say it to people enough. I don't think enough people hear it. But yeah, at that moment, there was a connection to where it was almost like it wasn't even a love. It wasn't even a love spark. It was like their love crescendoed, and his response was to bury that crescendo was to bury his face in her chest and go, "Steamed dumplings and Moo Shu pork," and he threw her over his shoulder and walked up the stairs. Very masculine a moment.
So we had steamed dumplings and Moo Shu pork. We didn't get to throw any women over our shoulders, but it's all right. We're married. We've got our opportunities. We're just not going to do that for y'all.
I don't know. I could after eating that Moo Shu pork, I could definitely see me throwing my lady over my shoulders. That was great. One thing that inadvertently we've been doing through filming this podcast, we've been trying Asian foods that we haven't normally had.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people, I know I do, I find like 1, 2, or 3 dishes that I really like.
Oh yeah.
And I always go to that dish.
Yeah.
And like I've just never had Moo Shu pork. Man, it was fantastic.
I had to ask my wife. Is like, does our place have Moo Shu pork? And we have the menu on the fridge, got it out, and we found like Mugu Gai Pan and like there's some pork this, pork that. I don't think they do. We were looking it up on the phone, and it's like it's a Chinese dish, but it's like it's like a northern Chinese region dish, and I was like, we don't even have it. And I was sitting there thinking, people at Best Walk, very friendly people, speak English, but me calling them with my accent and the way that I talk.
Y'all got Moo Shu pork?
You have Moo Shu pork? what do you have as closest to Moo Shu pork? I was imagining that conversation. I was like, I'm just not doing that. I was like,
Hang on, they're like,
I
God, Jen.
was like, they've got dumplings. Let's get dumplings.
Yeah.
And I texted you. I was like, I'm getting dumplings. And he's like, I'll see if I can find the pork. And you actually found the pork.
Yeah, it was at a local Chinese buffet, and at some point, I think you should come down and we should go there because it's fantastic.
Oh,
I've been there a couple
just
times.
getting it reheated was awesome.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's one thing with Chinese food is like it's fine to reheat, it's edible, but it's so much better when it's fresh. Yeah. I was just sitting there thinking while I was eating, I was like, man, I would have loved to have this yesterday. It was good as it was, but
fantastic. I'm glad he said that line because I don't know if I would have tried Moo Shu pork any other way.
I don't know if I would have ever
thought to try it.
Yeah.
Now this place that I got this from also has Moo Shu chicken and Moo Shu beef. Yeah. And like the Moo Shu beef, I think would pop
you'll see
just right.
Probably can see it in photos that we'll get in this area. Yeah, well, I think we got it behind us actually.
That's not the photo we took, but yeah, that's what Moo Shu pork looks like.
A lot of cabbage and leeks and stuff.
We've talked before of how your tastes kind of change, and I've become a real fan of like cooked cabbage. Oh, really good.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of it, but
as a kid, I hated it.
My granddad, once my grandma died, one of the only things he would cook when we went over to his house to see him was cornbread and cabbage, and but a lot of butter in the cabbage on a piece of cornbread that's just good stuff.
All right, let's get back into it.
Yeah, that was the reason for our meal. That'll make more sense, I guess, as we get through the story. But yeah, we did Empty Man for our main course last time, and now this one, and I think both you commented on Empty Man. It's like I've never even heard of this.
Yeah.
And now this is a movie I've grown up with as an adult, and you're like, I've seen it twice. Yeah. It's like we're going to eventually get one that's your stuff,
right?
And let me come along.
We'll get there.
Let me come along for the ride instead of me dragging you along with me. But
no, like I said, when I saw bits of it when I was a kid, the only things that retained in my mind was the scene when Jack was trying to kill himself, and Robin Williams being naked. Those were the two things that kept with that. We'll throw that out there. Me.
Any of you people that have ever lived your life wanting to know what Robin Williams looks like naked, this is your film. If that's what you've been waiting on, then.
And to be honest, he looks like you think he'd look.
He's a very
hairy man.
Don't think he spends a lot of time at the beach. No, not very tan. I think it was one of the scenes when I would watch it with somebody. They were just like, they were sitting there looking at each other and looking at us like, we just saw all of Robin Williams. I'm not sure I wanted to see that. But the picture that you have up with the he's sitting there holding like this little sword that he's made out of garbage.
Mm-hmm. I want this sword now.
I might actually display that sword. That was one of the things that made me want to go see this movie, is that I saw the trailer and he holds that up and he's like, I'm a knight. And then there's like, what am I? And I think Jeff Bridges goes, a hood ornament. Something about that line just cracked me up when I saw it. And I was like, I want to go see that movie. That's literally probably what drew me in to go see this thing. It's now become like a backbone of my whole philosophy on life. It was just because of that trailer that drew me there.
Now, as a young man, were you drawn to Arthurian legend specifically, or
more into? I'm sure I'd seen the Holy Grail at that point, and just I liked weird comedies. I just like stuff that was different. I guess that's when everybody says weird involving me showing this to them or calling me weird. I guess that's probably pretty accurate. I don't like going to a movie and being able to predict it all the way through 5 minutes into it. I like things that take me down rabbit holes and down a chase, and this movie had me from moments into it. And
now, on the last episode, when we were speaking of The Running Man, one of the comments I had was that I wasn't sure if Edgar Wright was like the right director for it.
Yeah.
And it felt very much like an Edgar Wright film. With this one, and like I said, I saw Terry Gilliam in the beginning.
Yeah.
I definitely felt that Terry Gilliam was the right director for this.
Yeah.
Because the more ethereal parts of this film, it really helped with his style, but he's willing to kind of go straight when he needs to go straight.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't need to have every part of his movie be very all whimsical and magical. Like
Yeah.
he knows he knows when to hold them and knows when to fold them. I mean, he
This it's worth saying too, just sort of the background of, of this. This came out in '91.
91.
For people that have followed, I guess, the events of my lifetime. I'm 50 years old. New York was in kind of the depths of depravity by 1990, where crime was out of control. Homelessness was beyond something they even knew how to deal with. I think Rudy Giuliani was elected in '94 and really cracked down on the city. And some people will say, "Yay, you Rudy," and people say, "Boo, Rudy." I don't care. He came in and fixed the city, whether you like him or not. He cracked down on crime, cleaned up a lot of the homelessness stuff. But the environment that they made this movie in really blends into this movie so well, where you had all the '80s kind of corporate greed and all these crazy high stress jobs that broke lots of people, and some people lost money, in stock markets and things like that, where some of those people became homeless, or they went had mental breakdowns because of all the stress. You had the AIDS epidemic that was kind of at its height, late '80s, early '90s. Um, and they represent that with a character here, which we can talk about when we get to him a little bit
Sure.
more. There's a character they meet that actually, I think, in real life died of AIDS. So
Did he?
I think so. Um, so on top of that, it was that was a big problem in New York because you have so many nightclubs and such a large population of people there that are into that kind of stuff, that it was a problem there that you would not have heard of in Southwest Virginia at the time. And on top of that, you had the regular people that were often tossed aside and with the rest of the homeless, like veterans and elderly people that had no savings or never had any kind of benefits, or also a tail end of that '80s sort of corporate stuff. You had so many company of these people that made a lot of money working for corporate jobs, and when they would get close to retirement, they'd get fired 2 years before they retired and just be jobless and become homeless, because that was how these companies would maximize their margins. Is like, let's just fire them before we have to pay all these retirement benefits to them. And companies threw people away, and a lot of them went to the streets because they didn't. How can you go get a job at 61 years old? Nobody's going to hire you. So you had, and those people would turn to alcoholism and drugs, and the, I guess you want to say the palette that he kind of used to paint this city. He got all of that mixed in, and it's just so. It's not one of those things that he throws into your face, but you see it, and it really kind of. He really knew the city. I guess kind of knew the problems, and that whole environment of the that he kind of paints in the city is part of what makes this movie such a powerful movie. Is it? You can't just say homeless people and say it's just those people. It's like he's showing you that it's these people and these people and these people and it's these people, and these are. You can't throw people away, and New York was throwing them away wholesale.
One thing that struck me while I was watching this was how the homeless, when like Robin Williams' character was out there, Perry doing his stuff, the people who were on the street just ignored him.
Yeah,
Like he'd be in the middle of the road screaming, and people would just completely ignore him.
yeah,
And I felt like that was a deliberate choice to show how
yeah.
like how these this
That's how you.
marginalized homeless community in New York was just largely ignored.
There, I was telling you while we were eating our stuff about I'll go back and watch police videos a lot. It's just a thing that I'm still connected to mentally with that, from doing that for so long. I don't know why I watch them. They just, I won't get into trying to psychoanalyze myself, but there's a video of a guy, and it looked like Chicago to me. A homeless guy walking down the street with like a husky that he was just turning loose, and it was just biting everybody that passed him. And you're watching like people jog and other people walk, and how they were just trying to keep their head down and get past this guy. And it's like they nobody. I guess that's just the way that you have to exist in these cities sometimes. Is you have to just put your blinders on and head down. And in 1990 you didn't have it. Now you at least have the excuse if you can put your phone in front of your face and act like you're doing something on your phone and walk
Mm-hmm.
past. You can stick an earbud in your ear and act like you don't hear the person that's sitting there screaming in the street. But
I mean, I'll admit that because around here we do obviously do have homeless. But there are a lot of people standing at like intersections and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'll admit, I'll pull up to the intersection. It's a red light, and the person's standing there with their sign, and I'm trying not to make eye contact or whatever.
Yeah. I have to
I guess
kind of deal with that myself too many times going into the cities that we go do shows at. And if I'm by myself, I just continue walking. If somebody gets too close, I kind of give them a little look of, not today, right now, buddy. You need to just take that to the next person. And if I'm there with my wife, I make eye contact with people, I'll block ahead of time, so that by the time I get to them, I've been staring at them for 15 seconds and they've head down and walk around us because I'm trying to send out the signal. It's like, no, if you have an issue, you need to. The issue's not going to get fixed if you come over here when I'm by my wife. I will make things very bad. So, but yeah, they work. That really is the kind of the background for this movie. And that kind of clashes up against the way the movie starts. You meet Jeff Bridges. He is a complete Howard Stern. He's like a shock jock on the radio.
I did want to say, I was struck by how much this character, to me, seemed like a character that would have, if this movie was made 10 years later, like Ray Fiennes would have played it. Like, to me, it's very much the type of character I would expect Ray Fiennes, because of a movie called Strange Days. Have you ever seen that?
Yes.
Yes. Like that these two characters seem very much.
I almost would
almost a slimy businessman kind of guy.
Almost would have. It would be weird to see if somebody could have resisted hitting Jim Carrey for this at the height of his popularity, where he was so bombastic and over the top that you saw Jim Carrey do some things where he was more serious and actually could pull them off. That he would have been an interesting 10-year later insert into this as well for Jack.
Ray Fiennes is more like physically similar, but I think Jim Carrey, just saying Jim Carrey playing opposite of Robin Williams, that would have been interesting.
That either would have worked or it would have crashed and burned. I don't
one or the other, right?
Who knows? But it really shows the kind of the range of Jeff Bridges too. He's typically not this kind of guy, but he's playing just, if you can look up jerk in the dictionary, it would be this character. He's radio shock jock. He's insulting everybody that calls, making fun of them, getting good laughs and stuff on this little morning show.
More concerned about the punchy insult than he is about actually making a difference or a positive influence in the world.
And because of his notoriety, and that's why I kind of comparing him to Howard Stern, he's kind of on the verge of fame. He has people that are talking to him about being in a sitcom and becoming even he says he would change the name of his biography to
Jack! Exclamation point.
The face behind the voice, and that would be the face and the voice, and then maybe just Jack. And so he's so self-obsessed and really trying to climb the ladder to fame. He's all about.
I'll think about the opening scene where it first shows him in the studio. I was struck by the lights because it has an overshot. You're looking down at him, and the lights look like bars. So I think that, I don't know if that was an intentional, like he's in a prison and he doesn't know it kind of situation.
May very well be.
Yeah. That just really struck me at that first scene, and I was like, it's Terry Gilliam, that's why.
But
he likes the visuals.
There's a lady that calls in that's like who's had some kind of affair with a senator, and he's making fun of her. And there's another lady that calls in, and she's asking for advice on her husband, and she's like, he always finishes and then he starts finishing her sentences, and she's like, you really nailed it on the head. And, he just keeps cutting her off, and then
doing exactly what she's complaining about.
It's like, somebody should hit you and somebody should nail you on the head or something. And then you get this call from this guy Edwin, who apparently is a frequent caller. And he starts just kind of
clearly looks up to Jack as a role model.
Probably one of the only times he ever talks to anybody, from what it sounds like with this character Edwin. And that you find out that even he's like, you remember the time we made you propose to the checkout girl? And Edwin is obviously a guy that's alone and awkward and shy and trying to meet women. And he tells Jack about how he'd been by this really fancy bar, and there's all these beautiful girls there, and he was just like, he tells Edwin, these people are filth. They're slime. They're animals. They'll never want anything to do with you if you don't have a chance with these people. And I think he even tells
It's
them,
us against them.
it's us against them. They must be stopped.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, okay, and he hangs up. You come back and kind of see a little bit more of his life at home, where he's got like this kind of drugged out girlfriend, and he's in a high rise apartment and stuff, and he's practicing his lines for this show, putting on mud mask and dancing around in his robe, and you see his face come across. He's got like multiple TVs because that's a sign of being rich in the early 90s.
Yeah.
You see his face come across all the TVs at once, and it flips to the news, and it takes you to a scene where this same bar, it's called Babbitt's, that this guy shows up at the bar, looks at him, opens fire, kills 7 people, and then shoots himself. And then they're connecting it to the fact that he's the guy that spoke to Jack on the radio that morning, and that Jack is responsible for this guy going out and killing all these people. And I won't say the word that Jack says, but he drops the F-bomb sitting there looking at the TV with his mouth open, and then that scene closes, and then you jump to 3 years later.
What struck me about that particular scene is that there are people in the real world who could live through have that exact situation happen, and their response would be, "I didn't tell him to do that."
Yeah,
that like this broke Jack, and that's what the movie's about. It's about him being broken by this event.
Yeah,
and that's a fictional character, and it's fictional very much in the way today where that won't break a lot of these people who are on online and on the radio.
If you tried to say something about cancel culture in 1991, most people would be like, "What are you talking about? Like canceling your credit card or something, or what?"
Yeah.
And it's like,
well, it didn't.
It became a thing, but at the time, this was kind of the first kind of example I'd ever seen of that, where he gets completely, like, his career gets destroyed and everything by this.
I've only seen this once, so maybe I could be misreading certain things, but I didn't get it so much that he was canceled. It was that he couldn't do it anymore. Like, he canceled himself. Like, it was something inside of him that he felt responsible, and he felt like he couldn't move forward in his career because of this thing.
I think he lost the opportunity to be on the show because of it, because he is obsessed. When you come back to him 3 years later,
yeah, he's obsessed with the show.
He's obsessed with the show, and he's watching the other guy in the show, in the thing that would have been his.
I would like to know, the writer is Richard Lavagrance. I'd love to know if Mr. Lavagrance meant that to be he didn't get the show because of this incident, or did he retreat so much that he gave up the show?
I think the way they were kind of portraying it on the news, they were like, you could tell the news were like, "Man, this dude sucks."
Yeah,
it's like, yeah. I think it was probably he got it all pulled out from under him, and when you come to him 3 years down the road, he is an alcoholic big time, and he's, I guess, working. He's not really working. He's hanging out in a video store with Anne, and that's Mercedes Ruehl.
Yeah.
She owns this little video store.
Yeah, he's hooked up with her somehow. We don't know how, but he's hooked up with her. She owns this little video store.
And he's
just hanging out.
He's just a depressed alcoholic. And you see him kind of sitting down in the store, sort of hiding back there. And then, like, they come back up to the room above the apartment where they are.
Well, right at that point, she's like, "Hey, can you come help a customer?" He comes out, and this woman wanting some sort of like romantic comedy, and
you remember who that was? That was Kathy and the Jimmy.
Yeah.
She's like, I like a Audrey Hepburn kind of thing, and we're gonna make this at least a little PG-13, I guess.
What was the title of the movie that?
Something like anonymous peepholes or something.
Yeah, anonymous peepholes. And I remember watching Anonymous Peepholes, then I saw the size of the video. I was like, "Oh, peepholes." Okay.
He hands it to her, and pardon my language, he says, it's like she reads the title back, and he nods at her. He's like, it's a big titty spread cheeky kind of thing.
Yeah,
you're gonna love it.
Hey, she seemed happy. She was smiling when she was looking at the back of it. So
he comes and like drags him away. He's like,
Anne's like, "Come on,
you need to take a break.
You gotta go upstairs."
So he's not liking people, not liking to interact with people at this point. But they go upstairs, and he's still drinking. Oh, the show was on. It's kind of like the Cosby Show, you know. It's
Mm,
the primetime comedy, and his big line was like, "Forgive me." That's what he was
forgive me.
practicing. The guy finally gives the show, and then Anne's laughing at it, and the crowd loves it. And he throws like his cup at the TV, and it's like, "This is just garbage." And it's like, I love seeing how not funny this is. He just hate watching this show. And
Yeah, it gives him validation because he knows if he was on the show, he would just be a part of that, um, like the humorless comedy grind.
yeah,
Yeah,
and it just shows kind of too in his depression and alcoholism too, just how awful he is to Anne.
yeah.
He says something to her about, she says something about, I don't know why I put up with you, or something like
I
that.
agree.
And
Throughout this whole film, I agree.
he says something to her about, you know, suicidal alcoholics will say anything to get laid. And she just like goes to bed and writes, okay, obviously she's used to him saying that kind of crap to her.
Yeah.
So she just kind of like, okay, I'm going to bed.
Yeah, I would go as far as saying emotional. He seems to be emotionally neglectful. I
Yeah.
don't know if abusive, but
That
maybe
crosses
abusive.
the lines into abusive. If she's that used to it,
Mm.
then yeah, it's probably an everyday thing. But he just kind of goes full on bender, um, goes out drinking, just continuing to drink, and decides to kill himself that night. He goes
Gets a
down.
Pinocchio.
He gets the little Pinocchio from the kid. That's a great scene
Yeah.
too. The quotes from that where he's talking to this Pinocchio doll and talking about the bumbled and the botched, and he's talking about there's two types of people. There's people that are destined for greatness, and he's like Walt Disney and Hitler, and then there's the rest of us who almost get there but just can't quite get there. Um, Ends up down at the pier. He's strapped cinder blocks to his feet, and he's just going to jump into the what is the river in New York?
I have no idea.
He's going to jump
I don't
into whatever
know
comes under the
geography.
Brooklyn
Yeah.
Bridge in New York. He's going to jump in there. But then, like, it's another part of that sort of environment of 1990s New York is these,
Cue stereotypical 90s New Yorker punks.
yeah, the people that grew up there watching the city fall down. There's these two teens show up, and they're going out at nighttime and just beating up homeless people, trying
They've
to get
got blades and gas.
trying to get them out of their neighborhood. I guess you, if the police in the city are just letting that happen, I guess the people in the neighborhoods are probably just shuffling the homeless back and forth between neighborhoods, trying to get them out of theirs. But they uh, they beat him and are getting ready. They have gas. They're getting ready to
Douse
set
them
him
with
on fire.
gasoline. Mm-hmm.
And then Robin Williams shows up, and he's speaking like a knight. He's like, "Behold, that unhand that guy." I forget exactly how he says it. And he shoots. He's got an arrow, and he shoots an arrow into the leg of one of the
Yep,
guys.
into the crotch.
Yeah,
It's right in the crotch. And I don't know what that was on the end of it, but it was like sticky or something because it stuck to him.
yeah.
And when he pulled it off, it left like a mark.
Yeah, it almost looked like a giant marshmallow, but
So yeah, that's
I
what it
have
looked
no
like.
idea what it
Maybe wet
was.
toilet paper. There you go.
That might have been.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
But he runs them off
he
because he has
runs.
his friends with him. There's like four other
There's
people.
like four other homeless guys,
Yeah.
and they've got like crosses and flashlights, and
Yeah.
they're like, "It's Night of
All
the
made
Living
from
Dead."
junk.
Yeah, and so he kind of gets Jack away from killing himself there, and takes
Yeah.
him with him for the rest of the night.
And
And
Jack passes out, right? Is this when he passes out? Like right after?
well, eventually,
Eventually.
he takes him back.
Oh, that's right. He takes him back because he gives him a drink.
He's sitting there with a bunch of other homeless
His
guys.
arm lights on fire. That's right. That's
Catches
right.
his arm on fire, like falls down, almost passes out, and they're all just like
Like,
clapping.
hey, good job. That was great.
And
And that's when he passes
you
out.
get your first hint of the old man singing. Well, actually, no, they sing it when he rescues him.
Mm-hmm.
Multiple times through the movie. I love New York in June. How about you?
Yeah.
Um, that's even the punks say to him, him and the knights that show up to save him. He's like, "What are you gonna do?" He's like, "You can't do nothing. You can't do nothing." He's like, "Nothing." He's like, "Let me show you what you can do." And they all break into song. The guys are just like, but he's got like a ball and a sock or something. He throws like a bolo and knocks one of them down, and the other one.
Yeah, I think he has two of them, and he's like he uses one to distract him, and then he hits him with the other. Yeah, that's pretty good.
They go back, and he kind of takes him through this little homeless world, and eventually back to his basement. And he's living in the basement of an apartment building. And Jack passes out there, and then he he wakes up, and
Then at that point, Perry tells him
he explains to him that he's
his holy quest.
He is a knight charged by God to find the Holy Grail, and he found out
speaks to little fat people that are floating around.
that came into his life when he was having one of
those holy bowel movements.
He said, "You ever one of those movements that's just." He like strains and looks up, and he says, "All of a sudden, there are all these like little fat people floating around in front of me."
Man had an aneurysm on the toilet.
But the fat people told him that he is a knight charged with finding the Holy Grail, and says, "You ever get like a message that's really specific?" He says, "Go to architecture, January volume this, page this." That's pretty specific, isn't it? He takes the magazine,
and he finds the magazine in his filing system under M for miscellaneous.
Flips to the page that the angels or the little cherubs told him to look up, and there's this picture of this guy, Landon Carmichael, who's like a billionaire, in front of his bookcase and stuff, and right behind him there's like this goblet, and he's like, "That's the Holy Grail. That's here in New York, and
he has to get it.
I have to get it." And
now, apart from just he needs to get it, that's as far as the quest goes. Like, it's not that he has to do something with it. It's just that he has to get it.
Yeah, it's in the wrong hands.
Yep.
It's got to be brought back to a knight.
Yeah. For safekeeping.
I think at one point he says that he's God's janitor.
Yeah, so, yeah, he does. Yeah.
That little interaction carries on. Jack's like, "I need my shoes. I need to go." He's like, he tells him, "Yeah, we'll come back and we'll rummage." He goes upstairs, and then he's kind of surprised by the apartment complex manager, owner, or whatever. He's like, "Dude, what are you doing here?" And he's like, "I was downstairs." He's like, "I tell him no visitors." He's like, "I'll let him." He starts telling Jack this. He's like, "I'll let him stay here out of the goodness of my heart." And he explains to him that Perry is actually a guy named Henry Sagan, who was a local college professor, and the reason he lets him stay there is he used to have an apartment in that building with his wife, and his wife got gunned down by a guy in Babbitt's 3 years ago, and he went crazy, was taken to an asylum. When they turned him loose, he had nowhere to go, so I just let him stay in my basement. So it comes back around to Jack just trying to kill himself because he's just kind of given up on stuff, having a night where he almost pulls it off, gets drunk, wakes up, comes upstairs and finds out, "Oh, the guy that I spent last night with, I killed his wife."
Yeah. I'm responsible for his wife dying.
Yeah.
I definitely think there's a couple of comments I have about if this movie were made today kind of thing. And that definitely would have been like at the end of the film. Because that was a big reveal. That was, oh my goodness moment. Wow, this man is in this situation because of you.
Yeah. But everything that happens from there is because of that. So
right. The motivations that Jack has to help Perry is because of that.
Yeah. So Jack comes home and explains to Anne what happened to him. And then he just wants to pay the fine and go home. So he's going to go find Perry again and give him money.
Yeah.
He goes to give him money. And
here's $50. $50. All right, 70.
Well, he didn't even get to that point first. He goes to find him, and he's sitting on a car like outside of this building. And when he comes up, tries to talk to him, he grabs Jack and pulls him over, and they hide behind like this column on the building. And he's like, "What are we doing?" Yeah. You find out that Perry is watching this girl named Lydia.
And
that's Amanda Plummer.
Yes, Amanda Plummer.
Yeah,
she's definitely one of those actresses where you're like, know her.
She's a "Give Me Your Wallet" lady from the opening of Pulp Fiction.
Yeah,
that's the best way to keep track of who she is. She's in the Hunger Games stuff too. She's in one of those, but probably her most memorable thing is the Pulp Fiction movie. This is the most memorable thing for me because this is the first thing I ever saw her in, and I've watched this thing so many times. But you find out that Perry is in love with Lydia. They follow her around. They watch her through the course of the day and find out she's like this clumsy kind of girl that's alone. She reads trashy romance novels, but even when she tries to pick those up, she knocks everything over. And then she goes to a dumpling restaurant, and they sit there and watch her through the window, and she's she
drops dumplings.
She's dropping dumplings on the floor and picking them up, and Perry is just like, "Isn't she the most beautiful thing you've ever seen?" And Jack's kind of like, "Yeah, not really, but yeah, whatever you think, man." So then you come back to the tower and watch her go back in. Even like when she goes into this big corporate building,
She has a hard time getting in.
she can't. She's so clumsy. She can't get through the revolving door. People walk past her. She gets bumped out of the way, and she hesitates to go in. And when she does, she just like dives into the door and gets sucked into the thing. And then Perry is just like loses his mind. He's just like, oh, she's wonderful, isn't she? And he's kind of like, yeah. Here's some money. He gives him like
Here's
50
$50.
bucks, and he's like, $50, and he's like, he pulls out the rest he has in his pocket. It's like $75. He's like, here, take it. He's walking away.
He has a handful of change. How much will it take?
Yeah.
And I think that scene is wonderful because his name, Jack. Yeah. Jack, his question of how much will it take is really him. He's asking himself, how much will it take to alleviate my grief?
Yeah.
Alleviate my guilt from this situation.
Yeah.
I want to feel better about the fact that I'm responsible for your wife dying. How much will it take? That's a great line.
Perry tries to give the money to just like this other like.
Oh yeah, he tries to give it away.
There's like a homeless guy, and that's where I kind of come back to like there's all these like broken people. Like there's a guy who's sitting there on a phone that's not connected to anything, like yelling like he's buying and trading stocks, which again,
sell, buy, sell.
Probably was somebody that was on like the stock
Wall
exchange
Street.
And just lost out, and now he's homeless. But he's sitting there like sell, and he hands him like the $50, and he's like buy. Jack comes and tries to take the money back from him, and he's like, what do I need money for? He's like, you really want to help me? I'll show you how. And then he takes him to this house that is a mansion. I guess it looks like a castle where this Carmichael guy lives. Shows him the castle and explains to him, this is where the grail is, and I need you to help me get it. And you kind of learn.
And Jack, being a man of sound mind, doesn't want anything to do with that.
Well, Jack knows who Perry is at this point, and doesn't realize. Basically, what you have with Perry is you have somebody who, all the little people who walk around and say, I can't find my phone, I've got PTSD, have no comprehension of what it actually is. This is a person that has such a severe case of actual PTSD that when he relives the traumas, it causes a psychiatric break. That's probably the most clinical way to describe what happens with him.
And that manifests in the film as the Red Knight. That's
where I was getting to, is like while they're sitting there talking, he's telling him, I want to help you. And it's kind of hard to talk to Robin Williams because he's hyper and all over the place. But he tries to say, it's like, I know who you are, I know that you're a professor, but like anytime somebody tries to bring up his past, I think it like triggers that trauma with him. He has like a break, and then he starts to see this like Red Knight, and it's this beautiful designed thing that shows up in the movie. I don't know, do we have a picture there? May have to skip it and then come back to that.
Let's see. I think we do. Yep.
Flames coming out the top of it. It's always backlit. All these like elaborate adornments all around it, on a red horse on top of that. It's just terrifying looking, and it's just he sees that, and
that I think the design of the Red, I could definitely see in like some boardroom where they're trying to decide who's going to direct this film. Terry Gilliam came in with this image of the Red Knight, and they're like, that's it.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what I think that is when we get to it.
I'm thinking we're thinking of the same thing, maybe,
but
we'll get to it.
But I mean, he goes down into the street like screaming and convulsing, seeing this knight. But then like Jack kind of like gets him to break out of it, and he looks up and sees Jack, and he looks at the knight, and like the knight's going away, and he's like, the knight's scared of you.
Yeah.
And then like he begins to believe that with Jack by his side, maybe he can defeat this knight. And this knight, I guess, is trying to keep him from getting the grail in his mind.
Right.
So this turns into this, like, he just takes off running, like gets hit by a car.
Running after the Red Knight.
They go into Central Park and are running over rocks and stuff. And like you'll stop and you'll see Rob Williams like looking, it's like, where is he? And then you'll see the horse again. And then he'll be like, ha, he's there. And then like they keep on going. And Jeff Bridges is just chugging after him. I'm like, what the hell are we doing?
I definitely, in this scene, I was definitely like, is Robin Williams' character, is Perry that much better in that much better shape than Jack?
It's the thing that you have to remember as a person or a police officer or anybody. If you're dealing with somebody who lives on the street, they're walking everywhere that they go.
Oh yeah.
They're probably in better, despite the fact that they're probably horribly malnourished.
Yeah.
That they're in better shape than your average person. Is that
Yeah, because he's booking.
He's just like, he'll see the thing and he's just like chugging along, and Jeff Bridges is behind him just sucking wind, and then he finally like catches up to him. Robin Williams is just, I've been to the Rock in
He's sitting
Central
on the
Park.
rock.
We found that rock when we were going through the park and went to it, and the kids were too young to have seen the movie then, so we couldn't explain it to them then.
But you had a moment.
He's sitting on the rock, just sitting there, like Indian style, sort of sitting there, and Jack's like, he comes up, he's like,
Jack comes up and he falls
like,
over. He's
like,
just
he's like,
out of
who are we
breath.
chasing? He's like, the Red Knight. And he was like, of course, like Jack starts talking to the sky, and he's like, who are you talking to? Even though he's always talking to the sky and talking to God. And one of my other favorite lines there, he's like, we really had him on the run, didn't we? He's like, if we had horses, we'd had his ass. Some of that stuff has to be things that I think that's just the beauty of Robin Williams films, is that he just interjects stuff, and probably the same way that Jim Carrey did, where you just have a scene and you just let him go, and sometimes you get a take that you want, and sometimes you just, let's do that again, and you get probably something completely different every time that you film it. And
yeah, I absolutely believe that Robin Williams had a kind of free reign. It was here's what the script says, we'll do that once, then you just ad lib stuff.
It'd be one of those things that if you were comfortable enough and competent enough with filmmaking, he would have probably been amazing to work with. If you're some control freak, he probably just would be probably insanely infuriating to work with, trying to get him to stick to what you wanted him to do.
No, I need to say this.
But then they're sitting there on the rock doing all this, and you hear this like lady screaming, and then he jumps up again like a knight. He's like, oh, what is this, a chance to rescue a damsel in distress? And he takes off running again off. And Jack's just like, son of a bitch. And then you go,
and that's when we meet.
Let me get to my page. I don't remember what his character name is. Mr. King. I got a cast here somewhere.
Let's see.
He is the homeless cabaret singer.
Okay, he has a name, doesn't he?
I don't know if they ever call him anything. But he's Michael Jeter.
Yeah.
Mr. Noodle's friend, Mr. Noodle. If anybody grew up watching Sesame Street.
Yeah, and, I think a lot of people would probably know him from The Green Mile.
Yeah, he's in The Green Mile. He's that most miscast dinosaur hunter that's ever happened in Jurassic Park 3.
I've never seen Jurassic Park 3, but that's funny.
He's the one that's supposed to be the mercenary that they bring in to hunt dinosaurs. And you're like, really? It's like,
this guy?
Like everybody else in Hollywood was gone that week. But I'm pretty sure I mentioned that earlier, that I think he died only at 50 years old. Wow. And I think it was
2003
AIDS related.
And man, I don't know what they did. Maybe they used old clips of his voice, but the last thing that he's credited with is Sesame Street. Yeah. 19 episodes. Now it does say 1996 to 2016, so maybe he was just Mr. Noodle in early years.
Yeah, probably.
I wonder if Mr. Noodle was used after he died.
I don't know. We watched it very briefly with our kids when they were little, and it was just that little segment where Elmo would come on for Elmo's World, and it'd be like, here's Mr. Noodle's brother, Mr. Noodle. And I think we even asked, like, was there ever a Mr. Noodle, or has it always just been a gimmick that it's his brother, Mr. Noodle? But
okay, yeah, his character was an unnamed homeless cabaret singer.
Yeah,
well, I could have sworn he had a name, but okay.
But they meet this guy, and
he's half buried himself in the dirt.
Yeah,
and he wants to be ran over by a horse that's driven by a
debutante. And I think at the time I had to go back. I was like, what does that even mean? I had to go back and look. That was just sort of those girls that were being courted to grow up and be actresses and wives, and he lists off a lot of famous actresses.
He said a couple of names, and I had to rewind it when I was watching it, because I was like, Brendan Fraser, what? Brenda Fraser, he mentions, and she was a popular socialite during the Depression era.
Yeah.
So it was way back when.
And he kind of find out that he's been at some point in his life probably like a singer impersonator at like a gay nightclub.
Yeah.
And he has the earrings in that kind of indicate that he's gay.
Well,
and,
even when Robert Williams' character, when Perry was going toward him, because you could hear her screaming sounds like a
it
female,
sounds like a woman.
but at one point he's like a man or a woman. Like he's like, I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna go help.
Yeah.
I don't know who's screaming, but I'm gonna be there.
But he even talks about how, that it just kind of how they kind of build that little background of New York at that time. It's like that he's kind of in that situation because he's watched all of his friends die of AIDS.
He said that at one point. He didn't explicitly say AIDS,
yeah,
but he talks about watching all.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you can paint in a movie without having to explain it to us like we're idiots, and that's
that would again, if it was made today, they would tell you.
Yeah, it'd be somebody else's fault that happened if you made it today.
And right after this is the hospital scene, right? Because they're trying to go get him some help.
They take him to the hospital, and you get to see what a state hospital in New York for homeless people looks like. And there's people 90s in there just babbling. And Robin Williams, every time he gets around homeless, he tries to find singers. So he's trying to get a group of them to sing "I Love New York" in June. Yeah. And there's this old woman who's just sitting there going off. It's like, my daughter, she comes in the house and she says something about the dust bunnies, and I'm like, F you. And he's like, I like the energy, but more tempo or something. He goes to another guy that's just like catatonic sitting there, and he's
drooling.
Like, he's like, you got to put more into the song. But they leave him there, I guess, to get treated after some people finally get around to him, show up. They kind of close that scene with somebody bringing pizza in, and everybody rushing to just go get the pizza. Then they go to.
Now, one of the things I really liked about these scenes, because Jack, obviously he's been introduced to showing you that he has this guilt from what has happened, and that's why he wants to help Perry.
But he's very resistant to all of this at the beginning, and
and in this scene with the cabaret singer, you start to see that there is something better inside him. Feel you'd be like, well, he's not a horrible man. He's not.
He can't resist. He's very much like me, that he can't resist the sarcasm and stuff. He's sitting there holding Michael Jeter, and he's sitting there talking about
cradling him.
And he's like, so did you lose your mind all at once, or was it a gradual thing? And he talks, he's crying. He's like, I just want to go. We can't go there. And he's like, well, where is it you want to go? And then he sits up and he's like, Venice. And he's like, the comedy of this movie, everything in this movie is just one of those things that it's just perfection for me, and not everybody's going to see it that way. But they leave him there, and then he continues kind of his day with Perry, and that's where you kind of start to see that like Jack is melting a little bit to understanding Perry's world and trying to figure out how he can actually help this guy. They go to Grand Central Station, and again, it's waiting for Lydia to come through, and they sit there next to, it's Bob Waits, just another crazy kind of character actor. Guy sitting there who's a veteran, sitting there in a wheelchair, and he's got a cup out, and people are coming by trying to drop coins in him. Half the time they miss, and Jack's like, buttholes, and he picks it up, and he's like,
he didn't even look at you.
He notices like the guy didn't even look at you. He's like, well, they're giving money, so they don't have to look.
And I was struck by that line. They pay so they don't have to look. It's like, oh
yeah.
Oh man!
Kind of takes you back to what he was just trying to do the same thing earlier, and
he was trying to pay Perry off. So
how's money going to help a broken person? It's like you can't just give them money. They need a structure. They need family. They need a home. They
need help. Not money.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the way that they shift into these like visions in this movie. Whenever Lydia shows up, you kind of get, this is the first chance I think you get to see how Perry sees Lydia. Grand Central Station, people just everywhere pushing past each other, bumping into each other. When he starts following Lydia, it just shifts like a ball. What do you call those things? Like a disco
ball,
like a disco type ball comes down from the ceiling.
Mirror ball.
They start playing like waltz music, and everybody in there pairs up and starts waltzing around. There's like two rabbi dancing together, and two nuns, and like a sailor and another person and stuff. They're all dancing, and like he's just kind of dancing and weaving. But they're both he's following her, not really ever catching up to her, weaving through this group of people, and you see the world kind of the way that Perry does, or at least the way Perry sees her in it, and decides that he's just not gonna. I guess he chickens out, decides he can't approach her, so he stops, and as soon as he stops, the dance breaks up, and people just go back to walking past each other. And beautiful scene, and they actually shot it in Grand Central Station. I can't imagine the logistics of being like, we're going to shut this down for a couple hours while we shoot this scene here. But I guess in the 90s maybe it was easier to do as a filmmaker. But and then yeah.
Well, I was thinking that with Lydia and the Grail, I saw kind of a comparison to it, because he wants the Grail, he wants Lydia, both are out of reach.
Yeah. And
I don't know. I don't know if him.
You get to it here, I think, in conversation later, but not too far from this, where like he doesn't think that he's deserving of Lydia until he does something noble, like getting the Grail.
Getting the Grail. Yeah.
Which we're almost to that part, but he finishes this day with Perry by going to the park with him at nighttime, and this is where all of you naked Robin Williams fans can get your rocks on there. He's sitting there in the park and just starts taking his clothes off, and Jack's kind of looking around like, what are we doing here? He's like, have you ever tried like bursting clouds? And he's like, you gotta lay down, you've got to like concentrate on them, and you can use your mind and break the clouds up, but you got to be naked. and he's just disrobing the whole time. He goes all the way, and then still another, just it has to be 100% Robin Williams ad lib. He's jumping around. He's like, little guy, let it shake in the wind. Jumping back and forth.
Very, very much Robin Williams.
Drops down onto the ground and starts scooting around on his butt. He's like, you know why dogs do this? Because it feels good. But he eventually lays down there beside him, and they're sitting there looking at the sky, and you just kind of get that window back into Jack, still thinking about his own celebrity and his own fame. He's like, it's like, we're gonna get killed in the park. Because I can see the headlines now. Famous DJ killed in the park, found next to naked man, and the man was naked. It's like they're always obsessed with nakedness, and and Robin Williams is like, you're not a happy camper, are you? But that is when he goes in and tells Jack the story of the Fisher King that I read at the intro. And you saw it very briefly when he was at the apartment, when the I think the guy was showing him some of his stuff, that he had some sort of research paper, or maybe something that he wrote that was like a research thing. So I don't know if he was like a literature type professor or what he was.
They said he was a professor. I don't think they went into what it was.
But the paper that he's actually reading was called the Fisher
King. Yeah.
So he's obviously somebody that studied this lore, the literature, whatever. And he relays that story to Jack. And I'll come back to kind of more what that means, I guess, to me. But starts to kind of remember. He says he starts to kind of mention like little pieces of words, like he almost says his name, and he almost says the name of the college. Like by telling the story, he almost remembers who he is. But then as soon as he gets there, the night shows up in the park again. Yeah. And he sits up, and Jack kind of again keeps him from having that break. The night goes away, but you can just still tell that that any return to this thing is going to be like just a breakdown for Perry. And I think that's kind of where Jack sort of, I guess he's been thinking on it all day, and he's like, money's not going to help this guy. Maybe I can help him get Lydia. And if I do, he's still thinking of it. If I do, then I'll redeem myself.
Yeah. He'll be absolved of his sin.
Still thinking that he has to like check some box to fix this. Mm-hmm. And it's so, but he comes to, comes up with this plan to try to figure out how to he goes and watches Lydia go back into the building, and I guess runs in and finds out like what her actual name is and what department she's in. Comes back to his apartment and comes up with, this is the days of call in, talk radio and stuff like that. And so they call Lydia at her place and say that she's won this contest.
With Anne behind him the whole time, like smacking him, like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?"
Yeah, and he comes in like,
And because
he's
he's
asking for Lydia, and she comes in like, "You're calling a woman on
yeah,
my phone?" She's probably neglecting talking about Anne in this. She is so real. Does such a good job of just portraying that sort of Brooklyn Bronx
that
lady,
brash personality.
and um,
And
the Bundy reference is perfect for
yeah.
that. But she's just like, she comes in,
What
it's
are
like,
you doing?
you're calling Lydia on my phone,
On
and
my
he's like, I'm trying to help Perry.
And he's there since he has a radio background. He has a boom box, and he has tapes, and he's flipping the tapes around and trying to create like a
All your old sound effects
yeah,
and
like some
stuff.
sound effects and some background music
Yeah.
to sell the fact that, hey, you've won something.
And they try to convince her that you've won this thing, and she's just like suspicious of anybody. It's
Very
like,
suspicious.
how'd you get my credit card? How many people were in the room? Were there other people?
he was like, we partnered with all the major credit cards. She's like, really? Which ones?
And he's like,
All of them.
all of them. And
But I'm very much like that. If someone calls me on my phone, I'm like, hey, I'm looking for Randy, and I'm like, who is this? I never say like this to me. I'm like, who are you, and why are you calling me?
the list of things I've said to people that call at this point is too long to list. I've told people that I'm dead.
He's gone. But Lydia doesn't like. She doesn't believe him. She brushes it off.
Yeah. So the next level of his plan is he goes back and gets the cabaret dancer to take balloons and like a little business card to Lydia at work and do a song and dance to tell her that she's won. So she's sitting in the middle of like little cubicles, people up above and below. Michael Jeter comes in this red cabaret dress. He's got a blonde wig on. He's got the big red mustache. He's got bad lipstick on.
Big old hat.
And comes in and does he basically if you've ever listened to Ethel Merman, I don't know if any reason why you would ever have to do it unless you just watch old movies. He sounds exactly like Ethel Merman. He comes in and sings a song that like how you won the grand prize and whichever type of movies we have him. He makes this whole song up that he sings to her Ethel Merman style, standing on the edge of like this desk right across from her, shaking around and doing his legs, all this stuff. And she's just sitting there with her head down, like, good Lord. And everybody else in the office is just like, what are we watching?
Gives her balloons, gives her a business card.
And I love it. He's like, he's never even seen her before. And he's told by Jack to go in and look for the little mousy woman. And he's like running around. They try to stop him coming in the office when he comes in, and he's running on big red high heels and carrying all these balloons, and he passes her and then he backs up and he's like, you must be she. So she finally gets the message, I guess, after being harassed at work by a cross-dressing Ethel Merman impersonator.
I think it was at that point she was like, I better respond to these people, or they're just going to keep annoying me.
We'll respond to it before whatever the next level is happens. Yeah. She comes down to the store, and
they have Perry there, and they're kind of, they put him in a store shirt, and they're kind of trying to pass him off as like a worker in the store. But he's still disheveled, all dirty,
and he's just completely doesn't know how to talk to anybody, and obvious that she doesn't either. And they send him out to try to sort of help her with stuff, and they're just knocking everything in the store off the shelves and everything.
At that point, I was like, why are there may have been movie stores that did this, but like they just had shelves, and the tapes were just kind of like set up on the shelves. They weren't. There was no backing or anything. Slots.
The old one that we had was kept things against the wall, and they had them sitting in there, so they were leaning back against the wall. But it was always an empty case, and you take the case back up, and they'd get you the movie. But this was just them all sitting there loose. So I'm sure just so you could have another scene of her knocking them all down,
and Perry knocking them down too.
But they
really showed how awkward he is, specifically with her.
She finally like was trying to think of something she wants to rent, and she's like, "Do you have anything with Ethel Merman?" And they look and they don't. And they're like, well, I've got some on. That's Anne. She's just like, I've got some ordered. It's like, do you or do you not? It's like, yeah, it'll be here next week. She's just like, I love that character Anne in this thing. And He's like, well, I'll just come back then. And then while she's getting her card that they were laminating for her,
Laminating.
she sees Anne
Which
has.
I noticed that they sent Perry to go laminate it. He comes back with it like torn almost in two.
Oh, it's like in pieces. It's like
Yeah.
multiple pieces. It's like, how did you even do that? But while she's handing her the card, she notices that Anne has like these
Very
custom done
nice
nails, and
Yeah.
she's like, "Where do you get your nails done?" She's like, "Well, I used to work in a beauty salon. I do them myself." And they're like, "Do you ever do them for other people?" And Jack steps in and is like, "Yeah, she could do yours if you want." Anne's kind of looking at him like, "No, I can't."
She's very reluctant, but she's accommodating.
And then she's like, she's like $40. And then they finally agree that yeah, I'll definitely do that. They're like, when can you do it? And Perry's like, tonight. And Jack's like, tonight. And then they look at Anne and she's like, yeah, tonight. So they go from like her coming in to like being set up for a double date. Well, no, they're not even a double date, just for her to come over and do nails tonight. But I guess the idea is that while she's there, they'll show up and they'll see if they all want to go out to dinner and try to go on a date that way. Um, a couple scenes where Perry is trying to get cleaned up at the house with Anne, and just his interaction with Anne there is hilarious. That's just a scene you just have to watch.
Anne's cooking food for him. She's like, he's weird.
He keeps dropping stuff on the floor to get her to bend over because she wears all these big swooping neckline things, and he's just like, oops, I dropped it again. And then she's there, or she's putting like noodles on his plate, and she's bending over, and he's like, you like some more? He's like, oh yeah. But Lydia comes over to Anne's that night and starts telling her about how she's never even dated, about her mom calls her every week like a nightmare, asking her if she's met anybody. And it's like, no, I'm in New York. There's nobody to meet. I'm alone. Never even dated anybody. And I start to kind of get this like nice interaction between Anne and her, where she's talking to her. It's like, you're only talking to me because I'm paying you. And she's like, I'm not like that. It's like, if I talk to you, it's because I want to talk to you. They get the tequila out in the middle of all that and get to drinking a little bit. And then Jack shows up with Perry. He's put him into a suit and like stapled the legs because he's shorter.
The arms and the legs, yeah.
It's like, hey, y'all want to go get something? I've closed up downstairs. Y'all want to go get something to eat? And of course, Lydia and Perry are both like diving away, trying to get away. And they're like, nope, yeah, let's go eat. So they go to this Chinese dumpling place, and that's just such a funny scene, man. She's everything that she does, you can tell that she's just somebody that's just lived by herself for so long that she's just not aware of herself. Like when she brings the plate over, she's sitting there cutting everything, and
she has like noodles that are strewn from the main plate to her plate, and she's trying to cut the noodles with her utensil.
While she's doing that, she's like sitting there just sniffing back on her, like her nose is running, and it's on her arm, and she's burping out loud all the time.
And at one point, it was like, Jack, help her.
Yeah. But then like when she can't use chopsticks, and when she tries to grab stuff, they fall on the table, and like
she drops a dumpling.
She drops one, so Perry drops one, and they start actually kicking one back and forth, and like they scored a touchdown. And Anne and Jack are sitting there just watching this, just dying laughing. And it's like, I think these two people were made for each other. It's like I love the scene too. Robin Williams sings Lydia the Tattooed Lady to her. It's a really, really beautiful scene. They kind of kick it off, really kind of take to each other, walk back home. They separate. Perry is walking her back home. Jack is going back home with Anne. We already talked about that, where she tells him that she's proud of him and all that.
Wonderful scene.
And then Perry goes with her, and she's just like, you can tell that she's had a bad experience or two or something, because she's just like, you can come upstairs, but I know it's just not going to work out, and in the morning you'll leave, and we'll never talk, and I'll be so hopeful, and then I'll get crushed. And he's just sitting there listening to her like, what are you talking about? It's like, this is our first time we've ever talked. And
he says, he's like, we met, we kissed, we made love, and broke up in 30 seconds.
Yeah. It's like, I haven't even had the first kiss yet. Yeah. And he explains to her that he's known her for at least years since all this happened, at least 3 years. And
he kind of describes her days to her, to say that I've been watching you.
Yeah.
Which, if this was made today, that scene would have been completely different.
Oh yeah.
Because that would have, from today's perspective and today's lens, that would have been like, oh, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Why even follow me around? creep.
But it's not like he's
But
been doing anything creepy. He's just been
no, he's been watching
following her,
Yeah.
and he's smitten with her, and he's been sort of reading the type of person that she is, and he tells her about how he knows if she's had a good day, if she stops and buys that book, and she knows that sometimes she doesn't feel important and nobody sees her, and that he loves her, and they get their
and
first kiss.
she is taken by that.
Oh yeah,
She sees that as what it was him just showing an actual interest in her and not creeping around,
yeah,
but just someone was paying attention to her when she thought she was completely alone in New York.
yeah. And she she goes inside. It's like, you can call me, and he's standing there. It's like, you didn't give me the number. But then it kind of comes back into like he's so stuck on what happened, and justifiably so. I'd be an unrecoverable Perry if what had happened to Perry happened to me. Well,
it's at this point he sees the Red Knight again.
Well, he starts to flash back, and he doesn't see the Red Knight yet. He starts to remember the actual shooting, and I think he actually he's probably remembered bits of it and stuff before. I think he actually just relived it. It comes back to him so hard here. He relives the whole thing.
Well, before when he saw the Red Knight and it was like he would start to remember, and he would run from it essentially. Yeah. But that didn't happen this time. He got all of it.
And then the Red Knight appears, and then he does try to start to run from it. And then the scene that he's remembering progresses, and it gets to the point where you see Edwin coming into the store, into the restaurant, raising his gun. His wife is sitting there with his back to Edwin. He's sitting there across from the wife, and Edwin shoots her first. He's
right in the back of her head.
First one of the 7 that he kills is his wife. Shoots her into the back of his head, and it blows her face onto him, onto his face. Sinew. And she falls down.
It's very graphic.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing that in the theater and just being like, "Oh wow." And then he's flashing back then from he's got this like long jacket that Jack tried to sort of hem up with staples so it could fit him. The sleeves have come loose, and he's like imagining himself. You see a scene, you see him where he's in a straight jacket in the mental hospital, and he's screaming, and he runs all the way back to the place where he saved Jack from jumping into the river, because I guess it's just in that neighborhood. And of course the punks show back up, because that's, I guess, where they hang out and beat up homeless people. One of them cuts him across the chest with a switchblade, and they beat him with bats. And
which I was surprised that wasn't a fatal blow, because that slash across his chest was more graphic and visceral, going back to the Running Man, than the slash of Ben's guts.
Yeah, he lays his muscles open. Yep. I mean, it's a deep cut all the way across, like from high shoulder all the way across his chest.
And in the Running Man, in the film, when he gets cut in his stomach, it's like, oh, you destroyed my ketchup bottle that was in my hoodie. Like it didn't look very deep at all. It was just very surface level. Yeah. Difference in filmmaking.
You come back to Jack again. He's had a good night with Anne. She's getting up in the morning. She's excited about the fact that he feels like he's happy again.
Well, he feels like mission accomplished. He did what he wanted to do.
He's paid his penance. Is that the right word? Mm-hmm. And she's talking about, finally, maybe we can get out of this apartment. We can get you're going to go back to work. I can get a house.
Is this the part where he calls his agent? He calls his agent and has an idea. And
I think he'd already talked to her that morning before she woke up. And he made coffee, so he'd been up all morning. And she's like, "You made coffee?" He's like, I love this.
It's like a new lease on life.
And then he starts to tell her, is like, I think I'm going to start things over, and it's going to probably be without you.
That was rough.
And I'm like, what?
That was rough.
I was like, you have the perfect freaking woman in your life, and it's like, this woman would do anything for you. And he says, yeah, I think I'm just going to go a different way. And that's really probably where this the highlight. That's the high point of where I was like,
Anne was telling him, well, if you're going to go back to work, we're going to have 2 incomes at that point. We can move. We can actually get a house, maybe a couple of extra rooms, nudge. She's seeing her future that is laying out before her, and he just cuts her off at the knees.
Yeah, I don't think I've disliked a character in a movie as much very many times as I did him at that moment in that movie. Mm-hmm. I was like, I was a mad in the theater mad moment. I was like, man, what are you doing? And while they're having this fight, and he's just dumping her, and just, I mean, she's like, what have I been doing here but time?
Yeah.
And
What
that's
I'm thinking,
basically
well,
it.
she says something like, "What have I done with you that I couldn't have done with anybody else?"
Anybody, any night
Yep.
of the week.
Yep.
And he's like, yeah, I just think I need to do my own thing. And while they're having this fight, he gets a call from the, I think from either hospital or police department, I'm not sure
Mm-hmm.
which, that
Found his
they
wallet
found his wallet because he had given his wallet to
to
Perry,
Perry, so
so
he could pay for dinner.
he could pay for dinner,
Mm-hmm.
and look like he wasn't a homeless guy.
Which I remember thinking at the time, why wouldn't he just give him cash?
Yeah.
That's one of those like, well, they needed this to happen.
That's the gun on the wall thing.
Yeah, exactly.
You
Yeah.
don't put a thing into a movie if there's not a reason.
Yep.
And they go down to the hospital and find Perry there, and they're like, well, he's just beat up, he'll be okay. It's like the doctor's like, nah. It's like
He's
we're pretty
catatonic.
sure he's relived this. He had the medical history on him. He's like, I think he's relived. He was in a coma before, or a catatonic state. I guess that's basically the same thing as a coma. Not exactly, I guess. It's like he could come out of it in a week, come out of it in 3 weeks, could be 13 years. It's like nobody knows. It just depends on what happens with him. And it's like he basically relived this whole trauma on top of the beating that he took, and um, and Anne's kind of like, some girls have all the luck, huh? This girl finally met the guy that was the guy of her dreams, and same thing for Perry, and now he's in a coma. They she kind of leaves Jack then, and Jack's just like, again, kind of goes that level. It's like, man, he can't be, this movie can't end this bad. It's like he goes back to work and just says screw it all, and I'm like, man, it's like if I met this dude right now, we'd fight. I was like, you can't do this. He goes back to his job. He gets back on the radio. They're getting him TV shows. They're maybe even going to give him a talk show.
And that's why I wasn't sure about the whole canceling thing, like because if that were the case, I don't know if he would have gotten back as strong.
I think that was probably why
they
were sporting something like a talk show, because he was controversial.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, it'd be like, wow, this would be another Howard Stern type guy that would be. He could come on here and he could be a confrontational talk show host.
And they show him walking into the building all slicked out.
And the cabaret singer is there.
Nice Jackie. Yeah, the cabaret singer is
trying
there.
To talk to him.
He notices him. Jack.
He won't even talk to him.
You know me. And walks right past him. Yeah.
This is where like you just love the God's design and a story that he goes to get this show pitched to him that his agent has like got him this hookup that's going to be the thing that gets you back famous. And they're like, yeah, we're going to do a show about homelessness. Mm-hmm. And where you're going to have you play one of these like quirky characters that are homeless, but they really love life and blah, blah, blah. He's sitting there with his hand on his face. Like, yeah, are you serious?
Yeah.
He's like, yep, that's what you get, dude. And they tell him this idea for the story, and he gets up and runs out again.
That gives him it attacks his conscience. It gives him a moment where he realizes I've gone back into this world of superficiality.
You could see he was fighting it off when he saw the cabaret singer.
Oh yeah.
He gets to the door getting ready to go inside, and he's got a cigarette in his mouth, and he's got this look on his face like, I've got to like power through this. Yeah. It's like there's some consciousness there that's just like he's fighting against it, and then they come inside and hit him with the idea of like, how about a show about the homeless where these guys are really fun and quirky and they love life, and he's just like, nope.
I feel like structurally, like there could have been a few more scenes of him getting back into his world.
Yeah.
But I'm not thinking they were needed, but it was very quick from. Okay, he's going to get back into his world. He's back into his world. Now he's out of it again.
There should have been like a 3 months later thing,
something like
that. Because there's a time jump, because you find out that he has another girlfriend already at this point, and he has a different apartment. So it should have just been like a little
3 months later,
3-4 months later.
Yeah.
Because, but he kind of breaks, runs out, goes to the hospital, and while he's coming into the hospital to go see Perry. Finds that Lydia is there.
That was sweet. She was talking to an orderly about his making sure that after his linens that she brought him are cleaned, that they get back to him.
So whatever the time jump is that happened from from where the breakdown happened to now. She's been coming there every day to take care of Perry.
Which
She's
talk about a good woman. You meet a man, have one date with him, and okay, well, I'm going to take care of you.
yeah.
Wow.
I think Anne says it earlier when they're in the hallway with the dumpling scenes.
Yeah.
It's like some people could be sitting across from each other in a room and never
miss
find each
other.
other. There's other people that could be on opposite sides of the worlds and nothing could keep them apart.
Yeah.
Then he goes to him, tells him that he's gonna get this. He's gonna go get the Grail for him.
Well, at first he's kind of like, what do you want from me? That sort of thing.
He goes in and he kind of works it out loud.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know you
yelling
anything.
At him.
He's yelling.
Yeah.
There's a one homeless guy that's like sitting there. This old guy. He's got this like wrinkled up face. He's just sort of sitting there like he didn't want to hear the yelling. Mm-hmm. There's another guy who's like bleeding from the head, who's just sort of sitting there staring off to the thing, and they're all just sitting here while he's out loud yelling at Perry about, I don't owe you this, and I don't have to do this.
It's him trying to really argue with himself, trying to convince himself that he doesn't owe anything to this man, that he's already helped. He's done his penance. He's paid whatever price he thinks he needed to pay to relieve his guilt, but the guilt is still there.
And he tells him, he's like, I'm going to go get this daggone thing.
And then I'll be done with you.
But he's like, I'm not doing it.
I'm doing it for me. That's what he said, yeah.
No, he doesn't.
Well, that's not what he said?
No, he tells him, he's like, I'm not doing this because I feel like I owe you anything.
Yeah.
I'm doing this. I want you to know that I'm doing this for you.
See, I completely missed that then.
Yeah, no, he finally kind of gets it worked out in his head and tells Perry this while he's having this struggle out loud. He's like, if I do this for you, it's not because I feel like I owe you anything.
Right.
I'm guilty or any of this. I'm doing this because I want you to know that I'm doing it just for you.
Okay.
That's the story of the Fisher King that I read at the beginning. So he goes and dresses up like Perry in his night stuff. I think he goes back to the apartment and gets some of the stuff, some of the equipment. He gets like Perry's grappling equipment, which is like an anchor with a rope on it. And
he dresses like Perry.
Dresses like him, goes to the Carmichael guy's mansion, scales it from the outside, has a rope with like little knots on it that he shoots a little string with an arrow. He's got an arrow and a slingshot with a string on it that he shoots up over the gargoyle on the top of the thing, and then uses that to pull up the climbing rope. He climbs up the rope and comes into the building from the ceiling or from the rooftop. And even then, like, he comes in and he's starting to see things. Like, he sees there's actually a stained glass window of a red knight on the side of the building. He sees that. When he sees it, he hears a horse, and he's like, Perry would be so happy I'm hearing horses. He goes inside and he actually sees Edwin coming up the steps, and
the guy who shot up
imagines him shooting at him. And then finally gets down to this office space, whatever. There's a lounge and a fireplace and his book where this Carmichael guy had this picture taken, and goes and gets the Grail, and then turns around and the Carmichael guy is there, and you find out that like he's trying to overdose. He's trying to kill himself with alcohol and pills. And Jack sort of has that, I'm sure, that first moment of panic of, oh crap, somebody's gonna think I killed this guy. But then I think he works it out really quick, because he's starting to sort of think like, Perry, I'm gonna go back out the front door, set the alarm off, so somebody will come and rescue this guy. So he goes, and there's a little laser. At
that moment, you do see again some of Jack's humanity, because he could have just seen him. Oh, he's overdosing. All right, I'm out of here.
I think he shakes him a little bit and sort of sees what's going on with him. And I guess sort of realizes it's like,
he's like, are you okay?
Yeah. So he goes to the front door where there's like this little laser beam alarm system there, pulls the door open to make sure the alarm goes off, and then he runs out. And the next thing you see is like a newspaper on the next morning that burglar saves Carmichael's life from attempted suicide or something. There's a newspaper article about how it was fortunate that the police and rescue came to this house because it saved this guy's life. But it's still that I jumped ahead on the newspaper article. He goes back that night, still in the dark, gets him the Grail, puts it in Perry's hands, and then falls asleep there by Perry. And Perry wakes up, he's got the Grail kind of sitting on his chest. I've tried to do too many things on this podcast where I'm just showing you what he's doing. Forget that some people are just listening. Perry wakes up and sees Jack sitting there, sees the Grail, and Perry says, "I had this dream, Jack. I was married. I was married to a beautiful woman, and you were there too." And he pauses for a minute, and then he says, "Like, I really miss her, Jack. Is that okay? Can I miss her now?"
That "Can I miss her now" was a great line.
Yeah, yeah. That's the struggle that Perry's been fighting this whole time. Is how can I ever move on? I was had the love of my life, and it was taken from me. You have, and that's a rough thing for anybody to ever think about or deal with. Is like if your spouse dies, what do you do?
Yeah.
You, I I don't want
I don't
anything.
wish that upon anyone.
I hope I never have to make that. Oh, I'm pretty sure I can already make that choice. I don't want anything to do with the. I figured out the woman that I have. I don't ever. I don't have the energy to try to figure out another one. But anyway, he's awake. Like I said, you see that Lydia had been checking on him the whole time. She comes back to the room, I guess, for her sort of morning visit, and Perry is gone from the bed, and I'm sure you get that one little pause where you see that panic in her face. It's like, oh no, did he die? But that's usually what happens in a state hospitals.
Mhm.
The moment you die, you got to get that bed space cleaned out. But then around the corner, she hears people singing "I Love New York" in June, and she comes around the corner, and Perry is leading pretty much the entire hall in this whole wing of the state hospital and singing "I Love New York" in June. And he comes over and they embrace. Jack takes over and helps him finish singing the song. That's the picture we have there of him holding the Grail up,
singing the song.
Yeah. And I think you see that Jack doesn't even know the words to the song at that point because he's like rah 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 rah. He doesn't even know the words to sing. Um, he goes from there back to Anne at the video store and just walks in with a flower and tells her that he loves her. It's something he could never do before. Um,
He
she
mumbles at first, and he has flowers, and she throws the flowers away. He's like, "No, you tell me."
she asks him, he's like, "Can you just tell me that you love me?" When they're
Yeah.
breaking up, and he's like, he can't say it, and he comes back. It's the first thing he says to her. She comes over and closes the door and asks him to repeat it, and he's like, "Yeah, I love you." And she does the good Bronx woman thing. She smacks him across the face and then pins him up against the wall, and starts making out with him. They're back together, and then you get back to he and Perry in the park, both laying there naked, breaking clouds. And
Yeah, they're both naked this time.
they're both laying there
Yeah.
naked, and I think he says like, there's the clouds moving stuff up there, and Jack's like, "Did I do that?" It's like Perry's like, "No, stupid, that's the wind." So you kind of see that Perry's kind of coming back to
Back
reality
in
a little
reality.
bit, and Jack has got an understanding of of sort of that world, and don't know where it goes from there. I guess your follow up would be whatever you think. I would
But I think
hope.
it's nice that they showed that Jack didn't he didn't finish with Perry. You know, like
Yeah,
during the movie, there were a few times where Jack was trying to say, "All right, well, I've paid my penance. I'm done. That's it."
yeah,
And he came around to a point to where that's not. It's his penance is perpetual, really. But it's not even really a penance. It's just he found a friend.
yeah, yeah. So hopefully they move forward and have many night like adventures.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully with their clothes on.
Oh no, it ends with them naked. So
But I wrote this on a blog years ago for our league, just as a Christmas blog that I did. This is sort of my summation of the point of the story of the Fisher King that he recants to him in the park, and the kind of the point of the movie. I have actually just copied and pasted this over this morning. I haven't really committed this to memory, but I think this is still pretty close to probably what I want to draw from it. It's
yeah,
true.
why is this a Christmas film?
True gifts are those given only because you want to give them, giving to others with no expectation of return, no praise or acknowledgement of your gift, often with few or even no one knowing that you gave, provides a source of happiness and satisfaction that we have not found a way to match. And whether that gift is material, monetary, or something as simple as your time, when you see your gift bring joy to another, it is one of the few ways that we know to find peace in this incredibly bizarre and self-centered world. If you judge everything that you do and say by the number of likes and retweets that you get, then you might be missing the point. And that was an excerpt from a blog I wrote probably in 2010 or 11 or 12, somewhere back in that.
A decade or so ago.
Yeah. Yeah. So this movie's been with me my adult life, and really tried to kind of impart that lesson in particular to our kids growing up. Um, that's why we've shown it to them multiple times while we watch it at the holidays. And I think that was
because of the themes of selfless giving.
Yeah, that giving is not going to go give to somebody and say, "Hey, look what I did,"
right?
Or giving them like it's a checklist that you have to do. That it's, if nobody knows it, if you come and you give something to me, I'm in pain. You give something to me, it draws me out of that bad spot or whatever. That's the point of it. It's not that for you to go back and be like, "Hey, look what I did. I saved this dude." It's not. The only person that needs to see that is God, and he sees it when you do it.
Brings to mind the film Pay It Forward, where the whole premise of that was to do something for someone that they can't do themselves.
Yeah.
That's very much between Jack and Perry, that relationship. It was Jack was doing something for Perry that Perry could not do himself. And Perry felt that from the very beginning, he was like he needed something from Jack, and what Perry thought he needed from Jack was to get the Grail, but that really wasn't what he needed.
He says it early when I think they're in the basement where he says, I think he's introducing, they're exchanging names. I'm Perry, I'm a janitor of God, whatever.
Yeah.
He says, and I'm Jack. And he's like, I know. So Perry knew from the first time they met him that this is the guy that was responsible for his wife's death. So it's interesting that, that's the path that his life went down, that it wasn't I'm going to go find this guy and kill him and get revenge on him. That he, not only did he make him lose his wife, it broke him personally, ruined his life, sent him into a life of homelessness. That still, through all of that, he came back and it's like, I'm going to seek this guy out, and he and I we're going to make this right. And kind of like the whole.
So do you think he was following him before Jack attempted suicide? Or was it just happenstance?
Very possible. I mean, he obviously was in that area, in that part of the city. You don't really see anything that probably lets you think that in that beginning part of the movie. That's a very interesting idea that is that he knew where Jack was going all the time, and who knows, could be he started out stalking him like, I'm going to kill this dude, and his better angels came in and said, no, there's a better way. And I just listened to Megyn Kelly interview Erica Kirk. And they talked about a lot of things, but one of the things they talked about was at the moment that she forgave the guy that killed Charlie. And then she asked her, like, what would you say to those people, or to the family, or to them? I was like, I don't have anything to say to them. I said, I forgive them. I said, forgiveness doesn't mean that I accept what they did or do anything. And that's kind of that same idea that comes through in this, is that he knew that we can't just let this go. You killed my wife, or my wife died because of what you did. My life has been destroyed, but there has to be a better way. And it's a pretty painful path to go through to get there, but they got there, and in the course of it too, he went from being a jerk celebrity TV star to being a guy with a happy wife and a good friend. And the same thing with Perry. He lost everything that he had, still found
love and happiness,
loving woman, and a good friend. And not really a ho 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 Merry Christmas theme there, but the season of giving is kind of where I always kind of tie it into Christmas. I've said for years, it's like I tell people all the time, I tell the kids, and I guess everybody thinks, oh, you're just saying that. It's like, don't get me anything for Christmas. I do not need anything. If y'all were home and we have time together and we watch some movies and we eat together, that's Christmas. I don't need stuff. And
I definitely, when I was watching this, because I knew you view it as a Christmas film, I was expecting it to be like set in the winter. You know what I'm saying? Like something more superficial.
Yeah.
But it's definitely like all the superficial things you could attribute to Christmas. Like none of that's in here.
I don't know.
There's no like Christmas trees in the background. Like this could have taken place in June.
Well, you would hope that it takes place in June because he says they play "I Love You,
I
New
love you
York" in June,
June. Yeah.
all through the movie. But it seems like it was kind of more in the fall, Christmas, wintry time when it came out.
That could have very well been it. Yeah,
my brief interlude with that dating scenario was going to homecoming together, and then right after that, that was the end of that, and that's usually in the football season, fall, late November, mid-November.
September 20th, 1991. Good memory.
Yeah. So I know it was later in the year, but yeah, that's why I tie that to Christmas stuff. I'm sure very few people probably ever think of this as a Christmas movie.
Yeah, I can understand. And
if you come back to, good Lord, it's the Jimmy Stewart movie.
It's a Wonderful Life.
It's a Wonderful Life. This is almost sort of like a Wonderful Life happening in New York in the summertime, where you kind of, well, maybe not even. It's just sort of that's stepping away from
the idea of you existing and what you do in your world and what you do in your life affects others. Yeah, those themes are definitely there. Yeah. So, I'd really like to know because when he first sees Jack and he's like, I know. See, I didn't get that, like he actually knew. He just was saying because he's nuts. That's kind of what I got at that point.
But you get those little flashes of reality in anybody that's like kind of had a mental break that they.
But like, let's say Howard Stern, like if Jack's character was Howard Stern, even in the 90s, everyone knew what Howard Stern looked like.
Yeah.
So like if everybody knew what Jack looked like, it would make sense that Perry would know who Jack was before, like, and so that maybe disassociated Perry didn't really make the connection because he's not really even facing the fact that his wife has even died. But there's something in him that knows Jack and knows what happened, knows what he did.
The person that he was before definitely knew.
Right.
And that's I think you see it when the newscast comes on with Jack, and they have like this face of him where he looks like he's yelling in a microphone, and that's his like PR picture that's probably in New York subways and stuff like that, on the sides of buses. So it'd be one of those guys, his face was probably all over New York because he was a big hot commodity when he was this top radio DJ, shock jock guy. So
yeah, that's definitely interesting because I believe you're right that's what they were going for, was that Perry, like deep down, he knew, and that peeked out a little bit in his dissociated.
If you want to say they're two different people,
sense.
Henry
Henry
knew Perry. Perry was a different person.
Right. Henry knew him. Perry didn't. Henry told Perry. Yeah.
That whole idea of like psychotic breaks and things like that is I've listened to some things on podcasts and things, and that's terrifying to even listen to some of the accounts of people that have dealt with stuff like that, and just what your brain can do as a defense system, I guess. And
speaking of brains and defense systems, the Red Knight was his wife's sinew that smacked on his face, right?
The way that if you look at the Red Knight when it shows up and the way it's all spread out and all,
it's got like these banners that wave and then undulate and flow.
And there's always fire coming out of right in the center of it.
Oh, that's the shotgun.
I think that is a visual representation of his wife's face getting exploded right in front of him, and that's why it causes that trauma every time that it's linked to that trauma. And
I literally cannot imagine.
Oh no.
Ugh.
A kid came off of the monkey bars at elementary school and landed on my daughter with his chin and split the top of her head open. I came home to clean that up and saw like that it was deep enough that you could see fat bodies. And literally the awful things that I've seen in my life, that one almost blacked me out. I had to call my wife and get on the phone because it was my child. It wasn't just somebody that I got called to deal with. I was sitting there like getting woozy and sweating, and I'm like, I called her. I was like, I'm just talking to you so I don't pass out. She's like, what's going on? I was like, George's head is split open. And I was like, seeing anything like that traumatic happen to your own flesh and blood, or to your life partner, your wife. I do not want to even think about that beyond just saying those words.
Well, I assume that everybody who's listened to this point would have already seen the film. Everything was spoiled, but as we do on our main topics. But one of the things that struck me about the film is it's very much structurally an '80s film.
Oh yeah.
There are like another film I was thinking about when I was watching this was like Taxi Driver. One of the things that modern films really don't do is uh, create like a moment in someone's life. Like the film structures really around here's the overarching plot and all the beats that we have to hit. But this did have a lot of that, where you had the Jack's fall from grace in the beginning, obviously Henry's wife dying and all that, but a lot of the middle part, like with Lydia and with the cabaret dancer, a lot of that just it felt like you were, I guess you were talking about the homeless, you felt like you were seeing just a part of the life of these people.
Yeah.
And especially Perry.
Yeah.
And I thought it was done well.
One of those things you kind of get little bits of too as they move through those middle parts. Even like when Jack goes to try to find him at one point, he goes to the places where all the homeless are. It's like, where's Perry?
Yeah.
Like they all know each other. It is a little community of people that some of them probably know each other. Some of them probably perpetuate crime on each other, steal from each other, all that kind of stuff. But that little world is just like this little underbelly world of a city. I can't imagine it now. I was in New York in 2009 or 10, somewhere around there, whatever year Brett Favre was at the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
And there was some of that there, but not anywhere like when you go to like a place like Baltimore right now, or like if we go to Chicago for a show, we stayed out by like the piers and stuff one time, and it's like, oh my goodness, it's like homelessness is not like a little problem. And it's like it's what do you do with this at this point? One of the cities, I can't even remember which one it was, if it was Atlanta, or seems like that one was Atlanta or Baltimore, where we googled a Walmart to go to, and went to the Walmart that was the closest one to us. And when we pulled into the parking lot, it's like, there's no cars here. We pulled around to the front of it, and all the windows were boarded up, and you could tell that it had all been burned. Like the entire store had been burned. And then as we kind of made our loop around into the parking lot, we looked, and it's like the entire like section, probably like where the employees would park, were tents. And there were people that were standing there, and they literally was wandering around. It looked like a scene from The Walking Dead. I mean, they're just people that were just staggering around, standing there, people laying on the ground, and it's like how how does anybody in any position in any government just let that happen? That's mind blowing. But
it's interesting that New York, looking at the statistics right now, seemed to go through a period of time where it didn't seem like the homeless was as big as an issue as it used to be. Like the 80s and the 90s, it was like a big problem.
Like I said, Giuliani came in '94, I'm pretty sure, and really kind of laid the hammer down on the city, cracked down on stuff, locked up people. I think probably institutionalized probably a lot of the homeless. Some of them probably went into the jail system, but really cracked down on the crime and stuff too, which is just kind of part of all mingles into that. It's easier to have a drug trade and stuff if you have sections of the city that just people just don't come into, they've given up on. And it seems like it goes through cycles, like where it has to fester to a point to where it gets so bad they have to clean it back up again.
Well, according to the Coalition for the Homeless.org, they have a chart here. It goes from 1983 to 2022. It looks like in the late 80s it peaked at 30,000 and went down a little bit, and it's kind of gradually gone up. It looks like it peaked again at like 40,000 in the mid 2000s and went down a little bit. but it's now at like 65,000.
You
So
know how
it's
many
funny
people?
that
Roanoke's like 90,000 people.
yeah,
Like our whole city
the whole
is.
city.
That'd be like almost the entire city of Roanoke being homeless.
And it's interesting that like media wise, you think that the homeless problem back in the 80s and 90s, it seems like at least it was worse in the 80s and 90s than it was like in the 20 teens.
Yeah.
But it definitely wasn't, because it got up to over 60,000 in the 20 teens. It looks like around COVID it dipped down for some reason, and then it shot back up.
Yeah.
But that's
You
that's crazy.
You get into the ideas of giving and stuff like that. I don't even know where to start to address something like that. I don't have a way to give. I mean, you hear of people doing things like, if I'm a Chick-fil-A, I'm going to buy the meal of the guy behind me, and it's like, maybe if you feel compelled to do that, buy an extra couple of meals and take them somewhere and give them to somebody. I mean,
like you were saying with Perry, he didn't want the money.
Yeah,
I mean
it's
the
buying
homeless people need help more than they need cash.
buying a chicken sandwich for somebody is not gonna doesn't fix that problem. But
the old adage says, you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day.
Yeah.
Teach a man to fish, feed him for a lifetime.
Yeah.
But if the man doesn't want to fish,
yeah,
what do you do? You give him a fish. See you tomorrow. Here's another fish.
It's something that's just I don't even know where to even start a conversation on something like that. It's just giving through churches, through places that can house and feed people, I think is a way to start volunteering your time anywhere where you can feed people and do things like that is another thing. But you have to be prepared. They're not all going to be happy guys who are pretending to be knights. That some of these people are literally have serious mental problems and are aggressive and seem crazy. They are crazy. It's not just hey, let's go do that. That'd be a nice Saturday. It's like, no, it's not going to be a very pleasant Saturday, but sometimes you just got to suck it up and go do it.
And as much as the homeless in New York was like the canvas for this film, it's just the vehicle by which they bring the narrative of Perry or Henry and Jack together.
Yeah.
And that mutual growth that they both had to go through, both facing their own demons in their own ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't care much for Jack as a character in general. He's not a good guy.
No.
But he grew. He grew. He learned. He grew as a person.
I like the character at the beginning because I always like those kind of sarcastic, rude joke, envelope pushing type people. And then like, I was probably, I probably had some way of sort of writing off the whole joke, picking on the guys. That's not really his responsibility that this guy went and did that.
Mm-hmm.
When he breaks up with Anne, I was like, no, I'm done. It's like Jack was a real guy. I'd be looking for Jack, but yeah, this is. I think you said you watched it a one and a third.
One and a third times.
It really is one. Get a copy of this movie, put it on your shelf, and when you don't, if you're going to sit there and just scroll whatever stupid thing, Instagram or Facebook for an hour because you have nothing else to do, put this movie in and watch it. It never loses anything. Anytime I rewatch it, I watched it just a few nights ago just to refresh myself on stuff for doing this, and I laugh and smile at parts that I know are coming, and it's just because I just love the scenes. I love the lines.
No, I had to, in order to get this film, it's not available to stream anywhere.
Yeah. And
again, it's one of those things where I'm like, do I want to pay $15? I found it in a local library.
Did you?
Yeah. I very rarely think of doing that, but when I think of it, it almost always turns out well. Libraries are a great resource for. I was there and I got the Fisher King, and right across from where they were, where the desk was like their graphic novel section, and they had The Watchmen. And I've wanted to read The Watchmen for a while now, but I'm like, I don't want to pay the $50 it costs to get the graphic novel.
Yeah.
So I pulled that off too. And I'm like, hey,
that's the best trip to the library ever.
It was great.
Get The Watchmen and the Fisher King in one trip. And
so yeah,
all for the cost of a library card, which
is free. So go to your local library, people.
It is on Pluto right now.
Oh, it is okay.
You can watch it streaming there if you can stand Pluto giving you
That's why I didn't want
commercials on Pluto are
commercials.
so bad.
No.
It's and the thing about Pluto is like they don't give you a mix; they give you the same 3 commercials every time
Mm-hmm.
they go to commercial break. So I got to learn about some kind of diabetes medicine 33 times in watching that movie.
Yeah.
But again, that's the movie. It's not breaking the narrative for me because I've this movie's so entrenched into me that having it on and it stopping for 3 minutes for another commercial break is like whatever. I could act out what's coming up next if you'd like me to, except I would have been doing that in the house where everybody else was trying to sleep. But really surprised that I haven't seen this kind of surface up anywhere in like a local theater, like doing as a play and make a great play. Be easy to do.
Yeah.
But
No, they're doing things like Alien now. Okay.
but and attachment to movies like this too. There's no way to recreate this. The Michael Jeter character, you could probably find somebody that could probably do something similar to that. You can't. Nobody could ever do what Robin Williams did in this. Jeff Bridges, I'm sure you could cast somebody in there to do that. Because Mercedes Royal, Amanda Plummer playing those 2 spots,
I don't know. Remake bad movies. This isn't a bad movie.
Yeah.
So it doesn't need to be remade. Watch this.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying this is kind of one of those things where like everything aligns.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just get those where the right movie,
Right director,
right right time, right actors. I mean, if this happened a year later, it probably couldn't have happened the way that it did.
Right.
Just it's little moments like that are just why I'm such a movie guy.
Yeah, I was definitely pleased and surprised by Jeff Bridges. You're much more of a fan of Jeff Bridges than I am, but I enjoyed his portrayal of Jack on this.
Yeah, I have a sort of an expectation of him of either being sort of like this guy who's trying to solve the mystery, kind of relatable guy, whatever it is, or somebody that's kind of funny or laid back, and it's like this is just a completely different character arc for him. And the only movie I'd ever say that I'm in the course of the movie, I'm like, man, I hate that guy. But yeah,
I definitely think, and as kind of a turn, I definitely think he was the antagonist of this film, and Robin Williams' character was Perry was the protagonist for sure.
Yeah,
which was interesting that the film was from the perspective of the antagonist.
Yeah.
All right, well,
best Christmas film ever.
Yeah. I get it. I get it. Why you think it's a Christmas film? I'm not going to disagree. I think it's a nice film with nice themes.
I think that's the thing on a Christmas film is that I guess you have 2 categories. You have one that's either a Christmas message or a Christmas theme, or it's like this takes place at Christmas. And from that standpoint, Home Alone is a Christmas movie, but it's about a kid who's just torturing people trying to break into his house.
Right.
That have anything to do with Christmas. This is one that is giving you the message that I'd like to pass on about Christmas, that it's about 2 things. It's about the birth of Jesus. And it's about learning from his teachings and learning how to try to be a good follower of him. And this movie just lays out one of those paths of a way to do that. And that's why I tie it back to it.
There are a lot of people online who talk about, and we even joked about this before, is Christmas movies that aren't really Christmas movies, which is like The Gremlin and Die Hard and stuff like that.
Yeah.
People have talked ad nauseum about those, but I haven't really heard a lot of kind of from this perspective, like non-Christmas films that are really Christmas films. That would be an interesting topic.
That's what I bring. Yep. I bring stuff from the other side, and everybody else is like, "What are you talking about?" That's my collection of movies, and I think that kind of just carries back to when I was growing up listening to music. People were like big into this song was on the radio. This is a big popular song, and I'm like, I'm trying to find a song that nobody's heard of, and I like it until somebody else hears it and they like it. Then I was like, well, I don't like it anymore. So I would not be upset if the world embraced this as the greatest Christmas movie ever, and everybody started to like it, because there's nothing that would be bad from people seeing this and taking the messages from it and learning from it. So I'd be glad for this one to get hijacked away from me. But that was me growing up. Is anything that was something that was kind of my little thing. If somebody else got onto it, I was a Cowboys fan when they sucked. When I started winning Super Bowls and everybody showed up in school and Cowboys stuff, I was like, I don't really like the Cowboys anymore. I need to find another team that stinks. I'll be a Phoenix Cardinals fan. So,
all right. Well, that's our discussion on the Fisher King.
Yeah,
as definitely a classic.
Yeah, if you find it online, probably on Amazon for probably $3 or $4 as a CD, as a DVD, probably. There's probably a Blu-ray version of it out there, but get a copy of it and put it in your collection if you collect such things, or if you do it all digitally, find a digital copy that you can buy and download it. And
it's on Fandango.
If you're ever feeling
Fandango at home,
or feeling bad or feeling alone, turn this one on. It'll fix it. Or it'll make you feel a little better anyway. Might not fix it, but there's my Christmas remedy for you.
Well, our next episode is going to be the desserts, and we're kind of switching it up a little bit because usually the desserts is the stuff that we're looking forward to, but we're going to not really talk about that. We're going to do like our coffee service first, kind of, right?
I think so. The Christmas stuff.
Yeah,
actual Christmas movies.
Yeah, desserts is like Christmas films we like.
Yeah,
that's what we're going to do for desserts.
Yeah, I've got a list of ones that are. Yep. What it is still staying into the theme of what I'm looking forward to, because what I am looking forward to is not anything that's coming out in a theater anytime soon. What I'm looking forward to is breaking out all of the movies that we have physical copies of, and getting those out. It's kind of a traditional thing here to get those movies out and rewatch them. That's why we get physical copies. I heard somebody say the other day, I think it was actually on the Pat Gray show, they're talking about who what's the last time you bought a DVD? It's been like a decade. I'm like, I bought one last weekend. Yeah. It's like I still buy them.
They're Blu-rays.
I got a DVD. I couldn't find it on Blu-ray. There was a couple things we were just ordering. That's the beauty of nobody else doing them, is the people that still have the stock in them, is you can get it on DVD for like $3 or $4.
You got to go online though. I've tried trolling for DVDs here locally, like in the local pawn shops and stuff. They've all gotten rid of their stuff.
Yeah. I think I've heard people say. I think maybe you were telling me one of them said that they just didn't buy them anymore because they couldn't sell them for.
Yeah. Nope.
They could sell them for like $0.25 or something. Yeah. And I was like, man, I wish I'd been there when you were selling those for $0.25. I would have bought one of everything.
I was just looking to see if there was anything like Christmas movies releasing this month in December 2025. A lot of stuff on streaming, like With Love, Megan Holiday Celebration.
The last kind of new thing
My
that
Secret
we watched,
Santa on Netflix.
We watched that thing that Kurt Russell did where he was playing Santa Claus. Maybe those were Netflix movies.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
I forgot what those were called. They were kind of borderline like a little action movie.
The Christmas Chronicles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We watched those. They were fun.
They were unoffensive, unassuming. Yeah, it was fun. Yeah.
We'll watch something new like that when it comes out, but it's when we want to sit down and actually kind of enjoy the Christmas season we get.
Mm-hmm. You made a good Christmas.
We get a classic out. I've got several to talk about. Maybe I'll introduce you to one or two that you have not seen again.
Talk about in the desserts.
Yep. And we got to find some dessert to eat too. I think we talked about it. We're going to probably have our dessert will be a fruit pie.
Fruit pie keeping the theme of the Fisher King. The fruit pie is one thing that Perry offers Jack
when he is in the middle of a bender.
Middle of a bender, first waking up.
Yeah.
Fruit pie
causes a little gagging.
A little bit. All right. Thanks, Joel.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Later.